Hey y'all, how's it going? Welcome back. It's Mia, and today we are discussing Tales of the Jedi. But this came out, late October. I figured I'd watch it eventually. I wasn't I'll be honest, I wasn't looking forward to this. It didn't seem like the type of Star Wars content that I needed right now, but let me tell you, I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. Now for this discussion, I'm just going to briefly give some spoiler free talk, so if you haven't seen it yet, maybe somehow I can sway you, and then later on I'll probably time stamp it when we start talking spoilers. But yeah, my overall initially when I saw the trailer or whatever, I thought it was going to be a series of almost like vignettes or one shots of different Jedi, and they were just going to be telling these one-off stories hey, this was when Dooku went shopping at Hot Topic, this is when Ahsoka, I don't know, got a hotel in Washington DC. I don't know what I'm coming up with here, but I thought they were just going to be just random stories, and then I was kind of disappointed to see that it was only Dooku and Ahsoka. I thought every episode would focus on a different Jedi, so that kind of turned me off in the beginning, because I was like, why would I want to, see random stories of Dooku and Ahsoka's life if there's no point to it? But there actually is a point to it. I have to give it to Dave Filoni and team, because they did it again. And overall, what they do is they kind of use these 6 little stories to tell I don't know, I would call it an intimate story about the rise of the Empire, and it takes place before the Clone Wars, a little bit during the Clone Wars, and then a little bit right as the Empire is beginning. And yeah, it is kind of cool that they use Ahsoka and Dooku to tell this, because it's a unique perspective, and when you think about it, it's right Jedi and then great grand Jedi. Another thing that I will mention is that you definitely should watch these in order. There's only 6 of them. I know they're only 15 minutes. At first, I was hopping around because I was like, oh, this story looks interesting. And I was like, no, maybe I want to look at the Dooku stuff first. But the way that they put it together, it's really more almost like a movie, or it's like a kind of like a special, as to where you really should watch it all at once in one sitting. I would recommend it. That's what I did. And you start to see the narrative unfold. I feel like if I had watched it out of order, because I went back and I watched it in order, but I feel if you watched it out of order, or if you kind of watch one episode this week, another episode next week, it might not have that emotional landing. So maybe I wish that they kind of made that a little more clear, or just stuck all the episodes together. I don't know, but you gotta watch them in order. Okay, so now we're gonna get into the spoiler talks. If you haven't seen this, you might want to go away. I mean, there's really nothing new here. It's stuff that you could infer, but it's just nicer to dig a little bit deeper. And so, yeah, I found that the perspective of them taking 2 Jedi who ended up leaving the Order, right? Both for 2 separate reasons. And so on the Dooku side of things, you begin to see his ideology take shape. So for instance, at first it took me a minute. I was like, why are we seeing 2 episodes back to back where, the people of this land don't trust their senator and they want to rebel? And then a little light bulb goes off in my head and I was like, oh, all right, because they're trying to give a backstory to why Dooku decides to leave the Jedi Order. So I was like, okay, that's pretty clever. And it really makes you think about this character. So on any given day, I'm not thinking about Dooku, let's be honest. So it deepens that character lore, and especially with someone of his ideologies, because even now I'm still having a hard time wrapping my head around what he's going for, because you see him in these 2 episodes see that, okay, the Senate is messed up, and on top of that, he sees the way that the Jedi are kind of, I don't know, maybe you want to call it lapdogs to the Senate, right? That's kind of what the people in that second episode of his thought. They were like, all the Jedi do is just follow orders from the Senate. So I get that, but then we also see him beginning to side with Darth Sidious. And it's kind of like, okay, is he doing this because Sidious wants to he didn't really dismantle the Senate per se. He just created, you know, this unitary empire. So I'm like, did Dooku think that the empire was going to fix all the problems? And then we do kind of see as well, you know, things just get more and more complicated with his characters. So I'm like, I'm just going to have to go back and, I don't know, watch Clone Wars or something just so I can begin to wrap my head around this character. Or I don't know, but I do like that it makes you kind of think more about these characters. And also, speaking of thinking about these characters, because we have that one episode where they're talking about, you know, a Sith Lord on Tatooine, and I was like, it never quite dawned on me how Dooku was still in the Jedi Order while the events of the Phantom Menace were taking place. And again, it's not like, well, duh, it just never occurred to me to be like, oh, he like just recently left and now he's doing all these things on his own. And then we have Ahsoka's character, whose episodes were kind of, there were good parts and bad parts. Like the first episode to me was kind of weird. It didn't really fit the tone of the, well, I know they tried to have that life and death kind of parallel, right, between the first episode and then her training with Anakin and he gives her that speech. But the first episode was a little weird to me, and then when we see her come back and she's doing her trial with Anakin, to me that one didn't really hit as well as it should have either. I know by the end they wanted to create that emotional swell where we go back to season 7 of Clone Wars, and now she's with Rex and she has to defend herself against all the clone troopers who are trying to turn on her, yada yada. But it didn't have the emotional weight as some of the other episodes. I will say though, what did grow on me was that we get to see more interactions with her and Anakin, and more so it was kind of sweet for me to see, like, I was talking about Dooku being her great grand Jedi. So you start with seeing Dooku and like young Qui-Gon, which is really cool. And then we go from seeing an older Qui-Gon and he, name drops Obi-Wan. And then in Ahsoka's next episode, we see Obi-Wan and Anakin together, and then Anakin and Ahsoka as well. So that was really sweet to see that progression, like all in one sitting pretty much. And really that's why I only watched season 1 and season 7 of the Clone Wars, but eventually I will watch the rest. But what I do like about that is it just deepens how you see these relationships between these characters in the prequels, and then it kind of just adds more emotional weight to basically episodes 3 and beyond. So I would say it's just like, it's just Obi-Wan and Anakin, and you really see how that relationship deepens. But then it's Anakin and Padme, and it's Anakin and Ahsoka and Captain Rex. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and maybe this is me championing more for the Clone Wars than Tales of the Jedi, but I don't know, they're all interconnected anyway, so this is just a nice little filler as well, even, before we go into season 2 of the Bad Batch. Oh, I will say though, the final episode, I don't know why that one got me emotional. First of all, seeing that Ahsoka was present, risked her entire life to pay her respects to Padme. So I thought that was rather sweet. Maybe just because I like Padme, I was like, oh my god, my heart. And then not only that, but to see her interact with Bail Organa, and that was nice to see him again. And really, interesting to see how much he put his life on the line. In this we see him keeping up with Ahsoka and giving her, kind of the comm system. And then also, as we saw in Obi-Wan, he kept in touch with him. So props to Bail. That's all I gotta say. So I think that's about it. This Tales of the Jedi surpassed my expectations. It was just a nice little watch, 6 episodes, 15 to 18 or so minutes each, and also the soundtrack didn't have to go as hard as it did. That was a bomb soundtrack. They really did well with that, so I'm happy. What more can you ask for? And I'm interested to hear what you guys think. If you watched it, if you liked it, let me know in the comments down below. Please leave a like as well if you enjoyed this discussion, and I'll see you in the next video. And don't forget, if you're watching Andor, I did pick up my discussion on that, so check out my episode 9 discussion, because I'm actually starting to like Andor more. I will explain, check in that video. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye.